And now for our feature presentation.
You're listening to the JB and Goldwater Show. Live, loud, and online.
Puts it up. Whoa! There goes Davis. Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game. American Fool! It's finally the one. American Fool has won the Triple Crown. Barnes hits one high. It's a dig. It is out of here. Fly ball into right field. She is gone. Unbelievable! A home run for Gibson, and the Tigers have won the game 5-4. I don't believe what I just saw.
Here are your hosts, Jamie Bradford and Darren Goldwater.
All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, 12:02 p.m. It is July the 2nd. Darren Goldwater and Jamie Bradford here until 2 o'clock this afternoon. Scott Glaze will join us at 1:30 today. We'll preview the ACC's Atlantic Division. That is the division that Clemson will win, no question about that, but we'll give our over-under projections with win totals for all 7 teams in that division and a whole lot more. If you're listening on the Podbean app, we certainly appreciate that. You can also watch us every day on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Type in JB and Goldwater and all of those platforms, and you can find us, jbandgoldwatershow.com. Hey, man.
Nailed it. Hey, maybe I should turn on my
Turn your mic on. There you go.
Producer extraordinaire over here. Microphone has to be flipped on. But you're getting pretty darn good at knowing where we are and at all times. So.
Yeah, it only took me, 2 months?
Something like that. But we're good to go, man. July 2nd, we're 2 days away from July 4th. It's a decent day out there.
It's supposed to be a beautiful weekend.
There you go. So it's good. It's a good day.
Yeah, it's. I was looking at the weather to just a little while ago, and it looks like this weekend's like a 10% chance of rain. Of course, you never know in Charleston, but compared to what it's been throughout the week, we've been hammered with thunderstorms every day this week, right on top of us. Thunder, lightning, literally on the house.
We've had some, nothing too bad, but it's popped up around us, and then it normally fizzles out as it gets closer.
Yeah.
But we've had some.
Yeah, we've been just absolutely hammered. Like, isn't the old thing when it lightnings, you count seconds, and then when you hear thunder, that's how far the lightning is away from you?
Yes.
So, yeah, last night I didn't get to 1.
Yeah, so that's on you.
It was on us.
Yeah.
And I could tell because I saw the lightning and I go, "Oh, what? Oh boy."
That's when you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you can hear the sizzling of the electricity and you're like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah. We didn't lose any power, but we have been hammered. I mean, all 3 nights, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's pretty much been right on top of our home. But hopefully it's going to be cleared up for this weekend's 4th of July celebration, which will be very much so minimized around the country. Definitely here in the Low Country, fireworks shows will not be going off. At least those that are run by local municipalities. You may be doing that in your neighborhood. Was it you that I was talking to about this yesterday? I was telling someone yesterday. I said, back in March, we should have my wife and I, with what little money we have left, and you got 2 kids, we should have made a major investment into baby pools and a fireworks stand.
Yeah. We were sort of touching on that.
You can't find a
bit.
baby pool.
No.
Nowhere.
That's because we've bought like 4 of them because the longevity doesn't exist.
I know.
I mean,
it's crazy.
You could do everything you want. You can cover them. you can put them in a perfect area, but they're gonna pop and they're gonna get filthy and they're gonna ruin your grass, and then you move it and then repeat the process, and then you need another one.
Yep.
I don't know how many we buy every summer.
I know.
We're at least 2 this summer.
We have bought 3.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there is not. I've been to every store. There's none at Walmart. There's none at the dollar stores. There's none at Target. There's none at Lowe's. There's none at Home Depot. There's none anywhere. They're nowhere.
I don't know where Ryan found our most recent one, but she came home one day and had it, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I mean, and we have a pool, a neighborhood pool. We don't have one in our backyard. We do have a neighborhood pool, which we go there often. But it's nice to have one in the yard too. And yeah, I told Carrie, I said we need to stay on our plan, and in a few years put a pool in the backyard and just be done with it.
I'll tell you though, a major warning for pool in the backyard. It is a lot of work.
Oh, sure, I know, but I'd like to have one because I'm willing to put in the work to have the luxury of a pool in the backyard
and not have the pool get crowded, by noon and then
Right.
be slammed all day. And yeah. I get that part.
I don't mind being out there and messing around with the pool and stuff like that. And the kids are 16 months old today, so we need them to get a little bit older. So when they walk around the pool, we know that if they go in, they're not coming back up.
Yes,
which would be a good thing.
Yes.
But hopefully football season will be coming up. Yesterday, a plea for help, essentially, from the governor, Henry McMaster, and other major leaders in our state like Ray Tanner. Now they're striking the chord, is what I would call this, as opposed to stay healthy. All this jibber jabber stuff that might often be viewed as political or not. It's not. It's a pandemic, so they're trying to help you stay safe. But when you strike the chord of something that people truly care about, maybe that will make a difference. Yesterday, Governor McMaster was on television with a press conference and then also tweeted this. Let me make it very clear. Wear a mask and social distance now so we can enjoy high school and college football in South Carolina this fall. And people are going, oh, yeah, no problem. Yeah, ain't no big deal. Yeah, let me go grab a couple. Yeah, no big deal. We'll do it. It's like, we don't want you to get sick. I'm not wearing a mask. You want to miss football? I'll wear one.
Yeah, the coaches, ADs, they've been preaching it now for a couple of weeks. But McMaster, and I tweeted this out because I was watching it. The press conference was at 4:30, and I tweeted out during it. I said, he is making one thing crystal clear. Like, if we want football, wear a mask.
That's right.
Because if things don't change, we're not getting football.
That's true. And also, too, Darren, I mean, from his desk, he sees it, in little old South Carolina here, when you don't have major college football like at Clemson and South Carolina, economies are incredibly hurt. And the economy in Columbia, I mean, he's got a front row seat. He went to South Carolina. The economy in Columbia will not crumble because there is a city there, but it will be majorly disrupted if there's no college football, and that's in a place with a city. I think of places like, we mentioned this before, others, College Station, Texas, and
Clemson
and Athens, Georgia, and these places that thrive because of the school. So, there is a tie-in directly to state government and taxes and all that type of stuff. Ray Tanner tweeted yesterday a pledge to wear a mask, and I think that has begun circulating on social media. But the question I would ask, though, too, to play a little bit of devil's advocate here,
okay,
is when he says that, are you talking to the right people? And so what I mean by that is this. We have a lot of tourists in this state, and we have a lot of transplants in the state who could give two rips about high school or college football in the state of South Carolina. So whatever he's saying there, that's not appealing to them. They don't care. They're like, whatever, I'm here on vacation. Or I just moved here. All I care about is the New York Jets. I can give two craps about South Carolina football or Clemson football or whatever. So just playing a little devil's advocate, is his message resonating with everyone? No, I don't think it is, because there's some that just aren't from here and don't care.
Well, I don't know about most, a lot of governors are issuing the same plea. So if you don't listen to it from a football standpoint, then hopefully you'll listen to it from a health and safety standpoint.
You would think.
So we have a friend who made a brilliant career choice one day and got out of the television world and then became a registered nurse, and he works in ERs locally. Mm-hmm. He put something out today that was frightening. He's like, look, we're not having a hotspot here. This is like a full-blown, I forget the word he used for it, but based on what he's seeing in ERs. I was like, oh, man. So, like, if it's not football that drives you, let it be the health and safety of the people around you that drives you, because, help your local man, your fellow guy.
Well, it's just crazy because, I can't stand when like governments shut down all these things and stuff like that. I'm of this mindset that people should be personally responsible for themselves. I mean, that's kind of what we've built America on and things like that. But when you it's kind of like raising kids. Like, if they break the rules, you take things away. It's like if you say you're in bed by 9 o'clock and then you find out at 10 o'clock your kid's up there toying around on an iPad or something, you take the iPad away, right? It's okay. You don't get the iPad for a week or whatever it is. You take things away and then they listen. And so it's one of those things where it's like, I hate that some governments have to do some of the things they've had to do in the past, like closing beaches and things of that nature. But it seems like, unfortunately, when you don't punish people for not adhering to the rules, they take advantage of the rules
Yes.
or the situation.
Yes. How about the recommendation? They take advantage of the recommendations,
right?
If there aren't the rules, and that's a good example with kids because it happens in every walk of life. If you can break the rules and get away with it, let's think back to baseball and steroids when there wasn't a rule in place against steroids and performance-enhancing drugs, and then what happened?
I know.
So it's a good comparison.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, but maybe this will, help things out a little bit. Maybe some people will realize, look, if we don't do this, what's interesting is like there is. I don't think there's any slowdown at all as far as the anticipation of playing football, but being able to enjoy football. Whether we'll get people in stands and things like that. On another note, there's an increasing cry for pretty much every school out there to start releasing their COVID numbers. Mm-hmm. I haven't really, I guess, Darren, I haven't thought too much about it, simply from the fact that I do trust these institutions that they're doing what it takes, number one, to keep kids safe, and number two, doing the right thing. You don't want lawsuits. You do want to play. They would have no reason to hide anything. Like, that would be really dumb. But would you be behind a push for every school to release their COVID rate and numbers, positive cases?
I think it is. I think it's beneficial from a need to know standpoint. Yeah. So I think it would help the public understand a little bit better exactly what's going on. I'm with you that athletic departments are doing everything in their power to keep the kids safe. They don't want an outbreak occurring. They don't want some hotspot developing because of their campus. They don't want someone to die under their watch. No. So they're doing everything that they can to mitigate the situation. But would I like to know all around? Yeah, I think it would be helpful from just a public standpoint to understand how widespread it is or how well other schools are handling it. You pointed out yesterday that Penn State tested, it was like 100 some odd, and nobody came back positive. I think Boston College released numbers yesterday or today. They tested a ton of people, and I think there was one positive that came back from Boston College. So that is encouraging. So both ends of the spectrum, I'd like to know the numbers.
Well, I think there could be a benefit, because if the numbers are, it's kind of weird to even have the discussion. If the numbers aren't very high, let's say across the country, if you look at everything collectively, let's say everybody has to report, and you look at it collectively and say, wow, that is actually relatively low. That's really good news, but also, it's not a fearful statement. It's like, okay, see, it's not as bad as we thought. But the flip side of that is if there is an elevated number, which may be higher than people think or extremely high, a lot higher than you would expect, however you'd like to word that, it could also be a tool that would be used. An unfortunate tool, but a tool that you could use in saying, see, we're taking care of these kids. We've got them, away from everybody, basically neutralized on our campus to where they're only coming in. This is how they're working out. This is how they're living. It's an incredibly safe way to live your life right now, and they're still getting this. Mm-hmm. So if they're getting it, you're going to get it. And how on earth are we going to move forward with athletics if this is just going to continue to these numbers are going to continue to rise? So you could use it as a tool. So there's a benefit, I think to releasing it. I don't know that there's a problem in releasing the numbers.
Right.
I also don't think, Darren, that there's a problem in not releasing the numbers, because we know, I don't know everybody's story. I know South Carolina's story, but based on what David Cloninger has told us, and that is, Muschamp asked the parents. The parents said, we'd rather you not release information. They've elected to not release information. Other schools just said, we're not doing it. Some schools, like Clemson, have said, we'll give you the numbers. Mm-hmm. Here you go. So I don't think anybody's wrong. I think it's just more of a personal preference. Government, yesterday, we'll talk about some of the name, image, and likeness stuff in a little bit later in the show. Government, though, I think there are some senators, of course there are, the government wants to be in everything, are pushing for something that's maybe a little bit more cohesive and under the NCAA's umbrella, so we can kind of better gauge where we stand.
Yeah, and that's been something that a lot of folks have mentioned, that the different ways of testing and the different protocols at schools within the same conference, let alone schools spread out across the country, that's going to, and already is, it's creating problems, because what is acceptable and the protocols of one place, if they differ from another, then how are you going to blend those two? How are you going to play a game against said institutions?
Right.
So ideally, something like that could happen. But can the NCAA enforce that? I don't think they have that power. They can definitely put out, hey, guys, here are the guidelines, here are the recommendations. Let's all follow these rules, please. But I don't think they can force anything, because the NCAA only oversees, a certain amount.
Right. Yeah. I Darren, I mean, again, we're going to, in a couple of weeks, we will start to get more answers, and there will probably be some schools who reverse their strategy, and I'm more referencing the schools here that do not release information publicly, because a lot of this is going to become public anyways. It's just going to happen. I mean, when you have kids working out, let's just be specific to football here, and then you have press conferences or Zoom calls or whatever it is when you meet with the media, however they plan to do this, and you're asked about certain players, or you're asked about certain positions or whatever it is, people are going to start to be able to kind of rummage through the wording here and go, okay, this kid hasn't been practicing. Clearly, we need to know why. Things will leak, things like that. It always does. We'll really see where we are. But I know with this, we are on pace for a at the end of July, pretty firm decisions amongst the major Power 5 leagues to say, okay, here's the game plan, and then we're going to get a lot of this information probably very early August, which will be much more school-specific.
Yeah, Ray Tanner said that. Lots of schools have said that. Early August. Yeah. So is there time? Yes, there is time. The window is shrinking now that we're into July, and we're talking early August. But early August is about when it's kind of the break-even date, the drop-dead date, when the decision has to be made. Are we moving forward? Yeah. Are we just putting a little pause on it? Are we stopping? Schools with lesser resources are already announcing. The team that led Division II in all of attendance last year, Morehouse College, they've already canceled their fall. 2 or 3 Division III schools up in the Northeast, they have already done that as well. The Ivy League's going to announce it next week. They'll announce something. We don't know what they're going to announce, but their plan, they're not waiting till August. They will tell us in July 8th. So bit by bit, we'll get a little bit more. And learn more as we do.
Hopefully we learned good news.
Yeah.
That's what we're hoping.
Don't we all need just some good news?
No
Something?
kidding. Something. It is. Here's good news. It's buy one, get one half off footlong cheesesteaks at DB's today.
That's good news.
That is great news. DB's Cheesesteaks, as voted on by you, Charleston's choice, best cheesesteak in Charleston, dbscheesesteaks.com for their entire menu. Never forget to order the boardwalk fries. They come with the Old Bay seasoning at DB's Cheesesteaks in Avondale and West Ashley. And again, make your dinner plans now because it's buy one, get one half off at DB's in Avondale and West Ashley. They do deliver as well, and they have got great hoagies, burgers, hot dogs to go as well, in addition to the fantastic cheesesteaks. Buffalo chicken cheesesteak, that's what I get. Lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise. I like mayonnaise. And don't forget the fried onions.
You put me in the mood for, like, buffalo anything every single day. Like, I'm a wing guy. I like buffalo sauce. You start talking about it, it's like, oh.
I've eaten 2 cheesesteaks in Philadelphia. 2.
Yep.
And this one is better than both of them.
I don't doubt that.
It's better. It's not even close.
No, I don't doubt that at all. Because there's a lot, you hear about Pat's and Geno's, but if you talk to some folks up in Philly, they're like, okay, try it. But it's kind of like Hyman's down here. Tourist trap, right? Sorry,
sure.
I'm not trying to crush on the local business.
You're not.
But like, it is what it is. But Pat's and Geno's, they're that way as well. And then there are other cheesesteak places in Philly that locals will say, go here.
Go right there.
go here if you really want something.
The ones you've never heard of, usually. All right, before we slide to break, we're going to go to break a little bit early today. When we return, we'll give our over-under projections on the teams in the ACC Atlantic, and that does, of course, include Clemson. But before we slide to break, at the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit at Detroit Golf Club, Doc Redmond, 7 under 65 today in the first round. He leads currently by a shot over Scott Stallings and Peter Malnati. They're both at 6 under, both about to finish their round as well. James Hahn, Chris Kirk, and a host of others, including Ricky Fowler. They all sit at 5 under. I'm sure Ricky'd love to get himself a win as we kind of start to hit that home stretch here soon. Memorial is coming up, and then into and beyond when the big ones, the boys come calling in golf. But Ricky Fowler, he's 5 under through 17 on 18, about to complete his first round, and he is only 2 strokes off the lead behind Doc Redmond. So keep updated on that. He's also, of course, he'll give us some analysis on this coming up in a little bit over an hour on our program at 1:30 this afternoon.
Am I the only one when I see Ricky Fowler in his, I think it's Prudential, but that P on his hat? I think Pirates
Pittsburgh, I know.
every single time.
I did too. Every time I look at it, I'm like, how can he? Oh, that's right.
I do a double take every single time. That can't be good, again, because now I'm struggling to think of, I think it's Prudential. I think that's what the P is for.
Yeah, it is Prudential. Yeah.
No, it's Puma.
No, it is Puma. I'm sorry, it's Puma.
Okay.
He's a big Puma. Yeah, he's got Puma shoes and everything. Yeah.
So here's the problem. If I, years down the road, am still associating this with the Pirates, and I can't figure out without debating and thinking about it what the P stands for,
Yeah.
that's a marketing problem. They need to fix that problem.
That's right. Yeah. Well, Prudential, there you go. You got some free plugs. So congratulations, I guess.
Good for you.
All right. We will hit a timeout, and when we return, a deep dive into the ACC's Atlantic Division right here on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Cheesesteaks, the tastiest, juiciest, and now award-winning cheesesteaks in the Low Country. DB's Cheesesteaks delivers, and not just in quality. Download DoorDash, Uber Eats, or your delivery app of choice and have it dropped off at your doorstep. Original chicken, buffalo chicken, even pizza cheesesteaks, not to mention incredible cheeseburgers, massive hot dogs, and dynamite hoagies. It's all there for you and your family. DB's Cheesesteaks in West Ashley. dbscheesesteaks.com.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
As businesses start to open up around South Carolina, we have Ryan Nelson back in here to tell us about Dog and Duck Family Pubs, the 3 locations, and some new hours going on. What's up?
That's right. We now offer indoor dining and patio seating outside. The new hours are Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and then Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. now. Slowly getting back into the normal routine, or so what we think, and we hope everybody comes out and supports local businesses like Dog and Duck.
And you still have family special meals as well?
That's right. Always the family-style meals, and you can always get curbside pickup or carry out. If you're not ready to venture outside yet, we're here for you.
Hey, this is JB. Pull out those phones and hit that call button on the Podbean app. We'd love to hear from you. Now, back to the show.
Hello? Hello?
All right, 12/26, July 2nd. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater show on this warm but beautiful, as of now, Thursday afternoon here in the Lowcountry of South Carolina. Scott Glaze at 1:30 today to check in on some golf news with him. So Darren and I are after today, we will be 3/4 of the way home with our ACC and SEC over-under win projections. We've already, last week we what was it? SEC West. Last week we did our projections for the SEC West over-unders, and then just a couple of days ago we did our projections on the ACC's Coastal Division, which is much more interesting than the Atlantic Division because there are, I think we are all pretty much under the impression that there are 3 teams who really, truly have a chance to win the Coastal. Of course, the way that division's gone doesn't mean that one of those 3 will win it. But I think we've all pretty much agreed that Miami, Virginia Tech, and North Carolina at this point in time are the focus of that division. That is not the case in the Atlantic. Clemson, it is Clemson, and then a very distant everyone else. And who knows how it will all shake itself out. I tell you what I didn't do. I did not send you the over-unders, did I?
No, you did not, but that's okay. I still have the graphics that I'll throw up there.
Well, I apologize for that. We will start with Syracuse. And Syracuse, I put their over-under win totals this year at 5.5. Darren, they did win 5 games last year, but they only won 2 in the ACC. It was it just wasn't a good year for Dino Babers and their football program. Dino Babers, boy, that's been an interesting story since he's been at Syracuse. You know, the first couple of years, I think he won 4 games a year, but of those 4 wins, he had huge wins. Like 1 year, I know he upset Clemson 1 year. I think 1 year, who was the other team that they upset? It was an enormous win up there. I can't remember. And then he had that big speech afterwards. You know, it went viral. Remember that viral speech that made the rounds quickly?
I want to say Louisville.
Might have been Louisville. It might have been. A couple of big upsets. And then they go out there and win 10 games. You know, but and Dino Babers was a hot name at one point for a lot of big jobs. And he elected to stay at Syracuse, and you have to question a little bit now with hindsight 2020 whether that was a good decision for him. Because it might not end well if he can't get things turned around up in Syracuse, New York. But a 5-win team last year, and again, you know, everybody's playing for second place in the Coastal Division because it's a foregone conclusion that Clemson is going to win it. That's not what you and I will predict today. We'll predict how many games will they win, essentially.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So when you look at Syracuse, all right, how do they start the year? Well, you're at Boston College and you're at Rutgers. Okay? And one thing we need to keep into consideration here, and we have not discussed this much in the last 2 segments we've had about this in doing our over-unders with the Coastal and the SEC West, we do talk about games home and away, but home field advantage might not mean a lot this year if there aren't fans in the stands. But there is still a travel component and things like that, so it is something to consider. But 3 of their first 4 games for the Orange are on the road, and they're not difficult road trips. Boston College, Rutgers, and Western Michigan in Week 4. Week 3, Colgate will come to town. So you have 4 very winnable games to start the year. Matter of fact, you have 5 or 6 very winnable games to start the year. I mean, Louisville does come on October the 3rd, and we're going to get to them in a little bit. You're just going to have to keep up with Louisville. They're going to score some points. But whether they stop anybody on defense or not, that's TBD. That's coming up. And then they got Liberty, and they should win that game too. But then they go to Clemson, Georgia Tech, at Wake Forest, NC State, Florida State, and at Pittsburgh. So outside of going to Clemson, there is not a daunting road task on this schedule. Wake Forest, nope. Pittsburgh, nope. Western Michigan, nope. Rutgers, Boston College. Come on, Darren. You got to be kidding me. I mean, those are not difficult road trips. It's outside of Clemson, the other big names on their schedule come to town. Florida State, North Carolina State, and Louisville. But when it comes to Syracuse, I just don't know. I don't know that defensively they're good enough to get to a bowl game. I don't know that they have enough in the tank offensively to score enough points to keep up with a couple of the teams that are in their own division, like Clemson, Louisville, and Florida State, and maybe even Wake Forest. So I've got them over under at 5.5, but I'm under that. I'm going to give them 5 wins because the schedule is not good. But that's just because of the schedule. I don't think they're a 5-win team, but they'll get it because they don't play a very difficult stretch of games anywhere throughout those 12.
I'm with you. I'm under. I have 5 and 7, but only if, and I'll explain this, only if they get one of these 3 games that I think it's tough to say this is the defining stretch of their year, and I'm saying they need one to get to a 5-win team. Yeah. But the defining stretch, I think, is. Let's see. What are my dates here? Starting on Halloween, the 31st, then November 7th and 14th. They will.
You're right.
Yep. They host Georgia Tech. They go to Wake. They host NC State.
Right.
I doubt they'll be favored in any of those. If they can pick up one of those wins, I think they get to 5. You steal another one, maybe you're bowl eligible. So I'm putting them at 5, and I'm not overly confident because they could easily end up below 5, but I'm under 5.5.
Well, a couple positives. The DeVito kid is back at quarterback, so we'll give him certainly some credit there. He doesn't have much surrounding him. They do have some athletes up there, but they're very much so unproven. And then on defense, coordinator Tony White runs a 3-3-5. Well, that's going to do nothing for you against Clemson. You might think, okay, well, they pitch the football around a decent amount. It's good to have 5 guys back there in the secondary. Not that you're always in a 3-3-5, but that's their base defense. Well, they don't have a prayer to be a team like Clemson, so it's not going to happen, especially in Clemson. You got to get some type of pressure up front. You got to be good at the line of scrimmage to win football games. I just don't think they're good enough there. Again, I'm going to give them 5, but that's just because teams like Rutgers, Colgate, Western Michigan, Liberty. They fall on this schedule, and they'll probably sneak one out somewhere else, and they'll be a product of their schedule even just to get to 5 wins. But I don't have a lot of faith in Syracuse this year. I just don't think enough's in the tank.
It's tough to have a lot of faith in Syracuse right now.
I don't have a lot of faith in Wake Forest either. They did go 4-4 though last year in the conference, and also won 8 games. But this year is going to be a little bit different. Now, what is good about that is the fact that. Sam Hartman, a local product, is more than likely going to be their starting quarterback for Dave Clawson. They've got a couple good wide receivers. The Surratt kid, Sage Surratt, can play. He is really good. He's going to the NFL at the conclusion of his college career. I really like him. On the defensive side of the football, I think that they could be okay. They return a bunch of guys on that side of the football, so I think that they should be pretty at least decent there. Mm-hmm. But again, I just don't know that there's enough. They opened the year at Old Dominion. Shouldn't have a problem with that game. And then week 2 on 9/11, by the way, they welcome App State to town. And here's an App State team who all of a sudden, you can't you can't expect teams like Wake Forest to beat App State anymore. So, I give App State a lot of credit. So, do they win that game? Should they win that game? I don't know. Then you got Villanova. Then you got Notre Dame. That's a hard no for me. I mean, I look at I look at this schedule here for Wake Forest, and I see, okay, Clemson, no chance. On the road at Louisville, you're going to have to score a lot of points, and I think they can score points, but not enough. On the road at Florida State, at home against Miami, Notre Dame. I mean, that's 5 losses to me right now, the way that we look at it right now. Could they sneak up and win a game or two there? Maybe. Maybe they could. But I'm even less bullish on them as far as wins go. I think they're actually a better football team than Wake Forest, but they'll probably than Syracuse, but they might win less games because their schedule is more difficult. So I've got their over-under at 4.5. Where do you stand on that?
I've got them over 4.5.
Okay.
I think Wake they're going to start 4-0. I understand what you're saying.
Wake?
Sorry, 3-0. They are not beating Notre Dame. But Appalachian State, if you're an ACC school, it is fair to expect to beat them. South Carolina should expect to beat them.
Yeah,
yes, they got upset, even though App State was favored in the game. But if App State, in the conference in which they're in, the Sun Belt, if they begin to consistently overtake teams in the ACC and the SEC, that is a massive credit to Appalachian State. That should not happen on a consistent basis. So I think, especially being week 2, that Wake Forest can beat them. I think they'll win at Old Dominion. I think they beat App. I think they beat Villanova. So you start 3-0, then I think you'll lose 4 straight. And then the question becomes, how do you finish out the year? Can you win? Can you beat NC State, Syracuse, and Boston College? Yeah. I don't see why you can't if you're Wake Forest. So that gives you 3, and that gets you to 6 right there. I don't think Louisville and Clemson I would give Wake Forest a prayer at, but I get them to 6 right there. So I'm over 4.5.
Okay, yeah, I'm going over. I'm going to give them 5 wins. Dave Clawson's a good football coach.
Yes.
All right, so I think he can account for at least one that we might not be expecting. So I'm going to give him 5. Look, I like Sam Hartman as a quarterback. When he played at OCA under Coach Greer, I thought that this kid had a special future. He did actually log a lot of snaps his freshman year up there when Jamie Newman was suspended. Jamie Newman is now gone, transferred to Georgia, so he's more than likely going to be the guy. But and I think that there will be games where they put up really good numbers, but how consistent will they be? I don't know. And a lot of that is probably going to circle around their offensive line, which right now is TBD. So I'm going to go over. I'm with you. I'm going to give them 5, but I don't think that they go bowling. I also really question whether Boston College will be bowling. 4-4. Overall in the conference in 2019 for the Golden Eagles, 6-7 at the end of the season after a bowl loss. And you look at BC, and you really, this is another team, Darren, where you really have to question. Okay, when you look at the schedule, it's a weird schedule. Have you seen their schedule? It's weird. Like week 3 at Kansas, week 4 Purdue. Week 5, Clemson. You know what I mean? Like, that's a weird stretch.
Right.
Big 12, Big 10, ACC opponents back to back to back. And then on Halloween they play Holy Cross. Weird game late in the year.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But when you look at BC and you kind of start to try to figure out, okay, can they contend for a bowl game like they got to bowl season last year? It's another team where I just really question that. I look at losses here. I believe it or not, I don't know that they go to Kansas and win that game. That's a weird game.
I have that one as a loss.
Yeah, it's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Les Miles, you want to give him some credit. I don't think Kansas is going to be an awful football team or anything like that. Purdue, really strange game. It's a game at home, but who is Purdue? Purdue a couple years ago compared to Purdue last year were two different Purdues. What's Purdue this year? They're not going to win against Clemson. They're not going to go win in Blacksburg. They're not going to win in Tallahassee. North Carolina, that's a loss to me. So this is another team that I look at, and I just don't see them in bowl season. Their over-under's at 4.5.
So that's a tough over-under. I wrote best case scenario is 6-6.
Oh yeah.
So that puts them in a bowl, but probably. But are you over 4.5? I mean, I'll go over, and I'll say they're going to win 5. If best case is 6-6, I agree with you. I think they can open the year with wins against Syracuse and Ohio. I think that they can get Purdue. I mean, that game is up in Chestnut Hill. They're not beating Clemson. They're not beating Louisville. They're not beating Va-Tech. They're not beating Florida State or North Carolina. I would assume they can beat Holy Cross. And then there's Wake Forest sitting out there. 6-6 best case, I'll put them at 5, but that's still over your 4.5.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's some people out there that think that this might be a surprise team. Look, so a lot of this is going to depend on whether Phil Jurkovich, I believe is how you say his last name, the transfer quarterback from Notre Dame, is eligible. The NCAA has not ruled on this. If he is eligible, it's a former blue chip kid. He's going to be a huge boost for Boston College, for the Eagles. If he's not, they don't have a quarterback. Mm-hmm. And last year their defense was putrid. And so, I just don't have enough faith that that this football team can go to bowl season with the question marks that they have. And with, again, some of these weird games, like that Kansas-Purdue stretch is really strange.
It's odd, for sure. I mean, you may as well stay up in that area if you're going to play them both. But you're going to Kansas, you come back for Purdue.
Yeah. I'm going to go over. I'm also going to give them 5 wins. So right now, Syracuse, Wake Forest, and Boston College, I've got it, 5 wins. Essentially, they're all probably going to beat each other somehow. But I don't have any 3 of those teams in bowl season at this point.
No, and this is speaking to everybody knows the ACC is not a very strong conference. The stronger of the 2 divisions is the Coastal Division, even though Clemson will power their way through the Atlantic Division again.
Yeah.
But hearing this out loud and talking through this again, in my head, I keep jumping back to Clemson thinking, my God, like there's no room for error because your strength of schedule is not going to be there.
Right.
So Clemson is, again, facing the task that they've been faced with the last couple of years and succeeded with.
Yeah.
But if they don't run the table, then they are going to be they'll be perilously on that line of whether or not they're in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. NC State. Let's move on here. Again, we're giving our over/under projections today as part of our little series here on the JB and Goldwater Show. And today, this is the ACC's Atlantic Division. NC State was brutal in 2019. 1-7 in the league, 4-8 overall. I'm not going to be as hard on them as our friend J.C. Sherbert was yesterday.
He ripped them, man.
He did. Not a fan at all of Dave Doran. But here comes NC State. I'm going to give Dave Doran some credit. Sometimes just when you write him off, he wins a couple games. That's kind of what he's done in his career up there.
That's why they re-signed him instead of letting him walk to Tennessee.
Yeah, exactly. Boy, Tennessee. Whew. Dodged a bullet probably. I do have their over-under at 6.5. And here's why. I'm staring at 3 wins: Troy, Delaware, Liberty.
Yep.
You're looking at those 3. You would like to think that Duke, Boston College, Wake Forest at home are all very winnable games. Florida State, this has been a pretty good series actually over the last 10 years or so. Florida State does visit Raleigh this year in early October. Is it a winnable game? Absolutely. Will they win it? I don't know. Will they lose it? I don't. This isn't one. I'm not going to look at that game, and I think Florida State's a better football team. Don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean they can't lose the game, especially with first-year coach Mike Norvell. We're talking about them in just a minute. But they open the year this is very tricky for NC State at Louisville, Mississippi State. They're, in my book, they're not starting the year 2-0, but they could start the year 1-1. But they could also realistically start the year 0-2. So I put the over-under at 6.5 because I'm actually going to give Dave Doran a little bit of credit here. They don't return a ton of experience on defense, but they do have some guys They also have some guys on offense, and they got a couple guys at quarterback, the Leary kid and the junior Bailey Hockman, and I think one of those two guys will be a serviceable candidate at the QB position. So I put the over-under at 6-5. I'm actually going to go under, but I'm going to go right at 6. I think they do get the bowl season. They have a nice little bounce back from only 4 wins in 2019.
So this is more for us like the SEC West, where we're very, very close in what we're thinking. I'm with you. I think 7-5 is best case. I'm 6-6 for NC State. They're starting 0-2. You're losing at Louisville. You're losing to Mississippi State. And then there are a whole bunch of questionable games in there. I mean, I only have 1, 2, 3, 4. I only have 5 games, and I'm pretty confident that they'll lose. That would be the first 2, Louisville, Mississippi State, Florida State, Clemson, and then the last game at North Carolina. And I'm not as confident in the North Carolina one as I am the others, but I do like North Carolina. So the fact that I only have 5 where I'm really confident that they'll lose means you can potentially get to those 7 wins, but I don't think you win the 7 that are winnable. I think you slip up at least once.
Probably.
So 6-6 is where I'm putting them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. 6-6. You and I are pretty close on this. All right, here's Louisville. And Louisville last year finished second in the division. Also, they had 8 wins alongside Wake Forest, 5-3, the only other team in the Atlantic Division that had a winning record. Of course, Clemson went 8-0. But so Louisville's going to step into 2020, and they've got question marks as well. Scott Satterfield, this will be year 2 for Scott Satterfield, 8-5 again in his first year. They've got some guys on offense. They did score points last year. Now, they scored points against teams that they should score points against. There were some teams who were a little bit better off last year. They couldn't really hang 30 and 40 and 50 on those guys. So when you look at 2020, again, kind of all of this is tricky except for Clemson for some of these teams. Louisville could start the year 0-2. They could start the year 1-1. But we know this. They won't start 2-0 because week 2 is at Clemson. NC State is week 1. And then it's Murray State. Then it's Western Kentucky. Then it's at Syracuse. Then it's at Boston College. None of those teams can score at the pace that the Cardinals will be able to this year. By the way, even without Bobby Petrino. But then that second half is where it really gets dicey for me with Louisville because you've got Florida State and Virginia Tech. Although, back-to-back weeks at home. But then you're on the road in Virginia. You do have Wake. And then to finish the year, very, very, very difficult at Notre Dame. And then they have Kentucky, who's traveling just up the street, essentially, from Lexington to Louisville. Kentucky, we will talk about tomorrow as part of the SEC East. And that is a football team to keep an eye on, and I'll tell you why tomorrow. So, when I see the second half, I don't see the success they could have in the first half. But they could realistically, Darren, get out to a really good start, and that's why I gave them an over-under win total of 6.5.
I'm over it.
Okay.
And I do think they get off to a really good start. I think they lose once before their bye game, and that would be at Clemson, the bye game. Their bye week. And that would be week 2 at Clemson. So you're going to get NC State, Murray State, Western Kentucky, Syracuse, BC, which means you're starting out 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
And I do agree that the backstretch is much tougher. I think Louisville and Notre Dame are going to be similar. Notre Dame should be a better team, but I think they, in terms of their wins, losses, their unexpected losses, I think they'll be a similar team. I've got them losing to Notre Dame. The rivalry with Kentucky at Louisville, I have them winning. I have them going 8-4. I think that might be a little high, but I'm definitely over the 6.5.
I've got them over. I've got them at 7-5. I have them at 7-5 because of the team we're going to talk about next. But I do think they'll score points. The problem is going to be playing defense to win some of these games that they are not expected to win. Notre Dame, Kentucky, Clemson in particular, and then Florida State, Virginia Tech, the two tricky ones right there in the middle, October 24th and 31st. But I'm going to give them 7 wins at 7-5. On to Florida State. Wow, what a jumbled mess this has been in Tallahassee. Willie Taggart could not get it going. Mike Norvell is the new guy. They've already had some issues within the team. Those issues appear to be squashed. Marvin Wilson, of course, led the charge there. If you don't know what we're discussing, you can look it up. But essentially, Mike Norvell said he'd spoken with every player on the team, and Wilson said, no, he didn't.
Yep.
But they have now. And so they've moved on here. But here's Florida State, still not scared to schedule anybody. And you talk about another weird start to the year as far as the schedule goes for an ACC team. This one might be the strangest. West Virginia in a neutral site game to open the year on September the 5th. Samford, and then week 3 on the road at Boise State. Why did you schedule that game? I don't know. I know these home and homes. I know how they work. I know how schedules work. I get it. But I wouldn't have agreed to that. But they did, and that's okay. But then it's at NC State, Clemson, Wake Forest, at Louisville, Pittsburgh, at Miami, Boston College, Syracuse, and Florida. All right, so where are the real tests here? The first test is the football team itself. Believe it or not, James Blackman is only a junior quarterback. I feel like he's been there since essentially the day after Jameis Winston left.
It does feel like it's been a long time.
I mean, seriously, it seems like he was the heir apparent to Jameis Winston, and he wasn't. But it feels like he's been around a long time. So this team comes in, and you let's just look at their schedule before we look at their team. West Virginia, Boise State, Clemson, Louisville, those 4, Miami, 5, Florida, 6. To me, those are the most difficult games that are on their schedule. All losable football games, some winnable. Maybe 4 or 5 of them winnable. I really, even though Clemson comes to town, and who knows? Mm-hmm. Who knows if Florida State's playing really well by the time the Tigers get there on October the 10th? Could they give them a test? Who knows? But do I believe it in July? Not right now. I don't believe anybody, really, for that matter, could test them. And by test, I basically mean beat them. How quickly can Mike Norvell get this turned around? They do have guys on offense. They do have maybe the best defensive tackle in the country in Marvin Wilson on defense. I'm all over with what JC said yesterday. They have dudes.
Yes.
There's players there. Name a better secondary, if the other guys can pick it up, than Asante Samuel and the Nazarilladine kid who actually had committed to South Carolina, decommitted, and then committed to Florida State, Hamza Nazarilladine. Him and Samuel can play. I know that he's a safety and Samuel's a corner, but they've got talent there. They can win games, Darren, and I think they will win games this year. I'm going to go over 7.5 with Florida State, and believe it or not, I'm going to give them 9.
We're thinking along the same lines. I've got written down, are we 9-3, 8-4, and where are the unexpected losses? Because you rattled off the reasons why they can be good. There are dudes there. The defense should be okay. Assuming that locker room is okay, things can turn around in Tallahassee, and they can turn around this year. However, if you lose to West Virginia, and if you follow that 2 weeks later by going to Boise and stubbing your toe, then the season can get derailed pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Especially, I know everything is apparently all good in that locker room, and they smoothed out all of the issues immediately following when Norvell said he spoke with everyone, but he had just texted everyone. Apparently, that's all fine. But when things start to go the wrong way, then lots of other dirt gets dragged into that. I think they'll beat West Virginia. I think they go to Boise and they win that game too. So that means they're 3-0. The only games that I am pretty confident they lose are Clemson and Florida.
Okay.
Where else are they going to stub their toe? I expect it. Is it going to be Miami? Is it going to be Louisville? Can a team like Wake just surprise them when they're looking past them?
No.
I'm putting them at 8-4 because I just expect the turnaround to take more than this 1 year. And if they're at 9-3, then at that point they're ranked and people are talking Florida State.
Yeah.
So I'm pumping the brakes a little bit on that and going 8-4, but that's over the 7.5.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm over the 7.5. I put them at 7.5 strictly because of those couple of games early in the year. Well, like you said, they could definitely stub their toe. They will go to a bowl game this year, and they will win more than their 6 last year. But will it be 7, 8, or 9, or maybe more? I don't know. But I'm 9, you're 8, and then, of course, that leads us to Clemson here. And, you know, we don't really need notes for these guys. We know them for the most part inside and out. There's become really one conversation around where's the weakness with Clemson football, and that has been at the wide receiver position because they Justin Ross, you had T. Higgins leave to the draft. Yeah, well, you're all nuts who think that, okay? Because
that's fine.
Let me look. I understand the talent of those kids, but I also understand the talent that they've recruited to replace kids like that. It is a factory right now in the upstate. For the sake of conversation, you look and you say, okay, what games could they trip in if it all went wrong? Because I don't know that there's a team in the country when you say head-to-head they can beat Clemson. I don't know that. Maybe Alabama, maybe Ohio State. But outside of that right now, head-to-head, they have the best quarterback in the country. They got the best running back in the country. They're probably going to have the best defense in the country. They've got the first or second best wide receiving core in the country. They've got definitely the best offensive line group in the league, one of the top 4 or 5 in the nation. There's not really a weakness. So where could, if it all went wrong, God forbid, Lawrence gets banged up, something crazy happens, Brett Favre comes in, he throws a pick, Joe Montana comes in, he throws a pick, Jerry Rice drops a ball and it falls in the arms of a defender. Walter Payton fumbles a football in the handoff, whatever it is.
It's a hell of a team.
I mean, could it happen in Tallahassee? That's going to depend more on Florida State. Can Florida State force those mistakes, and do they start really well, like you just mentioned? There's one game, and that's in South Bend on November the 7th, already scheduled for a 7:30 kick on NBC. Head-to-head? No, it's not close. Clemson's better than Notre Dame, and I'm telling you, it's not close. Could it happen? It could. Could it happen in that last one? If it all went really wacky, maybe. Am I ever going to pick that? No. And my colors clearly always show through, but I am not going to be stupid either. Right. If it happens, we'll celebrate. If it doesn't, well, we all knew that what was coming. So there's really 2 that I look at, Florida State, Notre Dame on the road, and say maybe. Over under 11.5.
I'm under. I don't think they're going undefeated.
Okay.
And here's why. You laid out very clearly what we know. On paper, there are fewer than a handful of teams that we can sit here right now and say, I like their shot against Clemson. I think that could be a pretty good game. Alabama, Ohio State, that's about it. But then you play the game and you see how it goes. I think that these COVID numbers are concerning to me in Clemson. I think that there's going to be a week. I don't know what week it's going to be. And God help them if it's the Notre Dame week. I think there's going to be a time when Clemson is without some of its major players. I think that the virus is going to dictate to Clemson what will happen and who can play. And I think it costs them at least one game. I'm under 11.5. I've got them losing. It's hard to say exactly where. I've circled the Notre Dame game. They've never played up in South Bend. It is an awe-inspiring place to play. I've said many times that the 2 places I have ever been, stadium-wise, that live up to the billing of, well, you could feel the history. It's Notre Dame and it's Fenway Park. That's it. It's the only ones I've been to and there are plenty that have great, great histories, like Yankee Stadium, but the old one. But you feel the history when you walk into Fenway, and you feel the history when you're in Notre Dame. I can't describe it any better than that. And if you've been there, you understand. So I think Clemson, I think they lose that game at Notre Dame. And if it's not that one, I think they lose somewhere else too.
I'm over. I think they're undefeated. I think Clemson goes undefeated. Dabo Swinney is the master motivator when it comes to chips on shoulders.
That's true.
And all we've done is listen for the last month about how Dabo Swinney has not done this and not done that. And you think that for 1 second he's not going to find a way to turn all that into motivation for his football team. You're crazy. I mean, Dabo Swinney will find a way to take everything that has been controversial with that football team, make it a rallying cry, and they will go out and do exactly what they've done the last few years and just destroy football teams. They do not play Miami. They do not play North Carolina. North Carolina, of course, the one team that almost beat them last year in the regular season, probably should have and did not. Miami should be better this year, potentially might have the defense that could make something tricky happen for the Tigers. They don't play them. I think they're 12-0. And I think they roll right into the college football playoff, probably as the number 1 seed. I really do. I don't see a lot. I don't see maybe 2 close games on the schedule, but they'll roll.
If the season plays out the way you just laid it out, I would agree that they will be the number 1 seed. That they'll just roll through. If they and you're not wrong. I mean, Dabo is a master motivator. I mean, we've seen it now for years, and they should clobber everybody.
They should.
Everyone on their schedule. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to think that there won't be some issues with Clemson, though.
Yeah. Look, and again, the first one could arise October the 10th in Tallahassee, Florida.
Yeah,
it could.
Yeah.
That's not going to depend on Clemson. That's going to depend on Florida State. Florida State has an opportunity early in the year to get the mojo going and come into that ball game feeling really good about themselves. Now, I'm not going to predict that Clemson loses the football game, and I probably won't predict that when we do our predictions the day before the game is played, unless something really strange has happened. But that could be the first one, and then Notre Dame. Clemson, if Clemson wants to be the top seed, let's say they run the table and go 12-0, and Clemson wants to be the top seed in the college football playoff, they're going to need South Carolina to rebound. Of course, we'll preview those guys tomorrow. And then they're also going to need somebody to basically rise up from the Coastal Division, somebody to take some type of charge over there, whether it's North Carolina, Virginia Tech, Miami, whoever, who goes either 9-3 or 10-2, something that gives them something to pay attention to in an ACC championship game so you can finish the year with a win in South Bend, a win over a good South Carolina football team, and then a win over a really good team in the Coastal Division. You ride that momentum into the postseason with who you are as a football team, and sure, I think they would claim the number 1 spot, and it probably there wouldn't be a lot of question marks.
And they'd have a lot of momentum behind them, a national attention behind them, which will be there anyway. But if you give the talking heads the ammo of, look, they're not just beating up on little old ACC. Here's what they just did in South Bend. Here's an 8-win South Carolina team that they just pummeled. Here's North Carolina with 3 or 2 losses in the ACC championship game that they just run through.
Beat the crap out of them,
yeah. Then you'll have something that we really haven't had with Clemson going into the postseason with not a ton of questions. There won't be a lot of people able to say at that point, well, who have they played?
Right.
So they can kind of fortify that resume if those things take shape.
You know, and to defend Clemson a little bit here, like, look, yeah, they've played a pony league schedule, but it's not their fault. I mean, it's not their fault. Like, Dabo Swinney and Clemson cannot control that the rest of the league has just sucked. It's just not been good, guys. I mean, they can't control the fact that South Carolina sucked last year. I mean, like, were the Gamecocks a couple plays away from having 6 or 7 wins? Of course they were. I mean, I could tell you that better than anybody out there. But they weren't anywhere close to the level they need to beat these guys. Mm-hmm. And so it's not Clemson's fault that their schedule every year sucks. And Clemson fans shouldn't take exception when people challenge their schedule. Like when they say your schedule sucks. Well, don't get so offended by that and defensive, because it does. But what you need is for teams to get better. Like Florida State needs to be better. One of those teams from the Coastal needs to – if you just added 2 or 3 teams out of this league if you upgraded them to good or very good, you wouldn't have that argument as much anymore. Yeah, there's always going to be the haters say, well, the majority of the league's not that good. Of course, the ACC is nowhere close to the SEC or the Big Ten. It's not even close. It's not in the same ballpark. It's not in the same stratosphere. It's not good. But they just need a couple of teams to rise to the occasion to where they can say, yeah, look, I get it. The league's not that good, but these teams are that good, and we beat the crap out of them. Okay? We can play with anybody. We can't control the fact that our league isn't that good. We're better than everybody, and they're just not that good. It's just the way that it is. So, the two can be true at the same time. Like, I hate this argument. Well, Clemson wouldn't be undefeated if they were in the SEC. Well, they might be. They might be.
They might be.
They might be undefeated if they were in the NFL. I mean, like, they might be.
They would not be.
No, they wouldn't. No college team would be. But you see what I'm saying? It's like that's not the case. The league's not been good, but Clemson has been good. They can all be true. Okay. Like, they're not just good because the league is bad. Generally, if the league is all bad, then the best team isn't that good. Like, you are really good. They can both be true.
That is, as you said, true.
Like, I'm defending Clemson.
Right. The problem is when the league is as bad as it is, if Notre Dame isn't having a great year, if South Carolina's not having a great year, if no one from the Coastal really takes charge, and it's like a 8-4 winner of the Coastal playing Clemson in the championship game or something, then
I get the perception.
You're right, and it's impossible to say, well, Clemson's definitely better than X, Y, or Z. Depending on what happens in the rest of the country, because the teams they'll be compared to will have played a harder schedule. And it's not Clemson's fault. It's not. They are in that boat. And the whole disrespect thing that they like to play up.
They play that card.
We're not getting any respect.
They play it better than everybody.
Yeah, like we've lost one game in 12 years and no one respects us. Okay. I'm not saying you're not respected, but there has to be some framework with which to judge them. And the only way to do that, if you go through this whole season and nobody really responds to the challenge of taking that next step, and the ACC, it's on the right path. It's getting
I think
better.
So. I think so. Absolutely.
I don't know if this year is going to be the year where we say, oh, okay.
It won't be.
Right.
2021 will be a big year.
Yeah, it can be, and hopefully for Clemson's sake it is. But there has to be some framework for the College Football Playoff Committee to rate these teams. And if you don't have the opponent, if you don't have the matchups that an Alabama is going to have, that Ohio State is going to have, then you're not going to be number 1 or 2. Because,
well, just like last year.
Yeah, because you can't be. And now that doesn't benefit, wherever you fall. If you're 3 or 4, that could potentially screw number 2 or number 1. But
that's right. You just don't know when you don't know.
But that's the beauty of what is just a 14 playoff.
That's right. But I do think they will. I think they'll be challenged in a couple of games. I do. I think they'll be challenged in a couple of games.
I think they'll be challenged. They're always challenged every now and then.
Yeah, I mean,
something happens, like when Trevor Lawrence took over, right? Was that 2 years ago? And
the Syracuse game,
right? And then he goes out. It's like, wait a second. We just pulled this plug, and here's our stud, and now he's out of the game, and they almost lost.
Yeah, well, Chase Bryce came in. He's at Duke now.
Yep.
But see, now if Trevor Lawrence goes down, then
Joe Montana's.
Yeah, Peyton Manning is up next. I mean, it's.
But weird things like that.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like something will happen. Mm-hmm. They will be challenged, but I do think they'll win every game. I just don't have reason to believe they won't.
Yeah,
someone's gonna have to. There's got to be a better sales job out there to convince me that there's a game on that schedule that they should lose, and I don't see a game that they should lose.
There's not a game on that schedule they won't be favored by double digits.
Well, Notre Dame will be less than that. I'm going to go with maybe a touchdown, 7.5, something like that.
We'll see
in South Bend.
We'll see. It depends on how much of a hurting Clemson's put on people up to that point.
Yeah. Well, and what Notre Dame's doing.
Yeah. So maybe there's one game that they're not favored by 10 or more.
Oh.
So
dude, a lot of these games are. I mean, come on.
Yes, we're talking 20-30.
Yeah. You're talking crazy numbers.
Right. So if they slip up, something crazy is going to happen. I expect it to. I think they do lose a game.
Okay.
My father-in-law is probably breaking his computer hearing.
That's what we're here for. We're here for broken electronics. All right, we are 10 minutes past the hour, but we're allowed to do that because it's Darren and I. So hang tight. When we return the Patriots Point National Anthem, we'll begin what's left of hour number 2 on the JB and Goldwater Show.
DB's Cheesesteaks, the tastiest, juiciest, and now award-winning cheesesteaks in the Low Country. DB's Cheesesteaks delivers, and not just in quality. Download DoorDash, Uber Eats, or your delivery app of choice and have it dropped off at your doorstep. Original chicken, buffalo chicken, even pizza cheesesteaks, not to mention incredible cheeseburgers, massive hot dogs, and dynamite hoagies. It's all there for you and your family. DB's Cheesesteaks in West Ashley. dbscheesesteaks.com.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Low Country. Our back 9 is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
As businesses start to open up around South Carolina, we have Ryan Nelson back in here to tell us about Dog and Duck Family Pubs, the 3 locations, and some new hours going on. What's up?
That's right. We now offer indoor dining and patio seating outside. The new hours are Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m., and then Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. now. Slowly getting back into the normal routine, or so what we think, and we hope everybody comes out and supports local businesses like Dog and Duck.
And you still have family special meals as well?
That's right. Always the family-style meals, and you can always get curbside pickup or carry out. If you're not ready to venture outside yet, we're here for you.
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, 1:13, Thursday, July the 2nd. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show. We're late with the anthem today, but that's because Darren and I got caught up in our over-unders in the ACC Atlantic. Darren Goldwater, Jamie Bradford here until 2 p.m. Scott Glaze ahead in 15 minutes, and we'll talk golf with him. The Rocket Mortgage is being played at the Detroit Golf Club up in Detroit, Michigan. Thank you so much for watching our program. If you're doing that on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube,
There you go.
JB and Goldwater, at JB and Goldwater on all of our social media platforms. JBandGoldwatershow.com. We'd appreciate it if you go there and check us out as well. If you got any questions or think of something in the middle of the night and you're like, oh, let me ask those guys. You can go to our website, type in the question, and we'll get it. It comes right to the phone, and we'll answer it on the air. You can do that now or whenever you want to. And appreciate you listening in on the Podbean app as well. All right, I do want to get quickly some breaking news from college football. It is breaking news. It's not earth-shattering news, but the NCAA has ruled today on Texas A&M, their football program. They had violated NCAA recruiting guidelines and countable athletically related activity rules. I don't even know what that is.
that was a mouthful.
No kidding. That's what they're saying. The university, their head coach, who's Jimbo Fisher, and the NCAA enforcement staff agreed that the head coach and an assistant coach had impermissible recruiting contact with a prospect at his high school. The conversation was impermissible because it occurred before the completion of the prospect's junior year. You have to wait until they are done on campus, on their campus, with their junior seasons to be able to speak with them. So because of that, here's what Texas A&M has received from the Committee of Infractions. These are level 2 standard penalties for the head coach and the school: a year's worth of probation, a fine of $5,000. That's somewhere in a couch in the coach's office. A reduction in football official visits by 17 days during the 1920 academic year.
That's a lot of days.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's been reduced all summer because of the pandemic, so what's 17 more? An off-campus recruiting ban for the entire football coaching staff for November of 2019. Hey, they already served that. But again, this is the release. A lot of you got to remember something. When the NCAA releases this stuff, a lot of this stuff is already done and over with. But I don't know why they pick and choose when they release some of these things. And because of that recruiting ban, it reduced the permissible evaluation days for the 1920 academic year by 19. There was a 7-day off-campus recruiting ban for the football coaching staff for the 20 spring off-campus recruiting period, and a 10-day off-campus recruiting ban for the football coaching staff for the 2020 fall off-campus recruiting period. The university ended its recruitment of that prospect, a ban on recruiting any prospects in the prospects high school for the 1920, 2021, and 21-22 academic years, and a 6-month show cause order for Jimbo Fisher. The terms of the show cause order include a previously served 9-day ban on phone calls, emails, or text with prospects in January, a reduction in off-campus recruiting contact by days by 3, which that was already served as well, and a ban on all off-campus recruiting activities for the fall 2020 contact period. So Jimbo Fisher will not be able to go off campus and recruit this fall. There's additional one-on-one rules education, and a public statement needs to be issued from Jimbo Fisher.
I love when you're being given a directive to issue a public statement. Like, how you want me to take that public statement seriously?
For what? I mean, you know what we need is one coach to get out there and be like, I knew the rules, but I broke the rules. You know why I broke the rules? Because of this crap. Like, none of this is going to affect me.
Because everyone I'm playing against, they break them too.
Yeah,
and I got caught, and that sucks.
Yeah, you know, I broke the rules, but there's really nothing you can do about it. So
I'll try not to get caught next time.
There's my public statement, and we'll see you later. By the way, we're going to separate from you within a couple of years anyway, so you won't be able to do this crap anymore.
That's
so long, pal.
We just wrote his public statement.
Right.
I'd pay for that to be his public statement.
Yeah. By the way, I am on a 10-year guaranteed contract of $70 million, so I could care less what you think about me. Just as an FYI.
I'm telling you, like, he should hire us to write his public statement. It'll be the greatest college football public statement of all time.
All right. Nothing of substance, Darren, yesterday in the Senate Commerce Committee's hearing on NIL. It actually took more of a turn towards the COVID response, but really nothing of substance. I did not see anything that I felt worthy of regurgitating today for the purpose of conversation. Did you?
No.
Nothing.
Every piece written about it was the same. It said the Senate hearings occurred and quickly turned somewhat for some reason, cantankerous is the word that's in my head. But it turned into COVID conversations going back and forth, and it shows you what's on everyone's mind right now.
Yeah.
But it didn't move the needle for name, image, and likeness at all.
Nothing with name, image, and likeness really of any substance. A couple senators mentioned things like they'd like to see the NCAA have much more of a cohesive response to COVID and things like that. But there were some rebuttals as to why. I think most of those responses were decently accepted. There weren't any heated arguments or anything like that. And that was that. So if anything else comes out, we'll get it to you. But nothing yesterday that was big news to me.
No, I agree.
If you did not know this, there is a school called South Carolina Faith A&M.
I did not know until today.
Yeah, it's a junior college football program. It's actually a junior college athletics department that is tied to Trident Technical College here in the Lowcountry. Last year was their first year. 2020, of course, will be their second. They have baseball, basketball. They use Trident Tech for their academics. And South Carolina Faith A&M is I don't know how technically they tie that together, but South Carolina Faith A&M is their athletics arm. And
I had no idea until today.
Yeah. And I didn't know until Kevin Bilodeau with Channel 5 retweeted this, but this has actually been done for about 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But former South Carolina running back Corey Boyd has been named the new head coach of South Carolina Faith A&M Junior College in North Charleston, again, at Trident Technical College, technically speaking. I actually texted Corey this morning. I've known Corey for a long time. We went to South Carolina together, had a lot of classes together. We've been friends ever since. I hadn't talked to him in a while, but he's a great guy. He's been coaching and training kids for quite a few years in the Columbia area, and he's very excited for this opportunity. There's a bunch of people that don't know anything about SCF A&M. I don't either, to be honest with you. I did know it existed, didn't know much about it. But I would like to get to know more about it, and in the future we'll have Corey on. Let him tell us. Well, this is very interesting, Darren. We don't have junior college in Charleston that we know of, but now we begin to know of this. And there are opportunities out there for local athletes. So in the future we'll have Corey on our program. We'll talk to him about this. But Corey Boyd, head coach at South Carolina Faith A&M.
And they have another former Carolina guy.
Jabari Levy.
Yeah, on their offensive line. That's right.
Who played at Berkeley.
Uh-huh.
Jabari Levy's a big, strong man. He's a good man, too. And those two are just they're faith-based gentlemen, and they were wonderful football players. Corey Boyd, as a matter of fact, I've told him this a lot, and I'm probably a little biased because we did go to school together. But in my time, which I am post-George Rogers, in my time, Corey Boyd and another guy who I know very well who played in the early 90s, Brandon Bennett, are the two guys that I love to watch run the football the most, and that includes over Marcus Lattimore.
Really?
Yes, because they didn't run around you. They just went right through you.
And Marcus went through you too sometimes.
Well, he did, but these guys were like the old school bull of a running back where here's the football, and I'm just going to run, and then if you try to tackle me, I'm going to hit you first, that type of thing.
Yep.
Marcus did have much more finesse to him, although he would go through you. But I loved watching these guys. Like it was just old school, classic smash mouth football with Brandon Bennett and Corey Boyd, who shared a number. Brandon was 33, Corey was 3 at South Carolina. But I'll tell you a quick story about Corey Boyd. It's a tragic story. First of all, do you know you don't? Corey Boyd grew up in Orange, New Jersey.
Okay.
All right, which at the time was the deadliest town in America. When Corey Boyd was in high school. Shootings every day. And he was recruited by Lou Holtz, who, by the way, condolences to the Holtz family. His wife, Beth, passed yesterday, and just unfortunate, but a great family.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Holtz found out about this Corey Boyd kid and saw him on film and said, I'm recruiting him myself. So Lou flies to Jersey and rents a car and goes into Orange, New Jersey. This is a true story. Corey will regurgitate this word for word when we have him on the phone. I'll have him tell this story again. And he pulls up to the projects, like projects you wouldn't be within 100 miles of if you could get away from it. And Lou Holtz at the time said, oh, boy, I'm just a little old 5'6" old man white guy walking in here, and this ain't good. And he said he had some ugly eyes looking at him. Who is this guy? But word had kind of spread, too, that, hey, Lou Holtz is here to recruit Corey. Everybody knew who Corey was. He lived with his grandma, didn't have parents. And Lou goes, bars on the doors, chains, everything. He said it was the scariest recruiting trip of his life. And he walked in, and this young man couldn't have been nicer. Sir, yes, sir, please, sir, whatever. We're going to offer you a scholarship. Corey said, I'm coming. You got to get me out of here. I'm coming to Columbia, South Carolina. And he did. And Corey came down. And as a matter of fact, his first year at South Carolina, Virginia was in town. We played Virginia at Williams-Brice. He took a handoff, went right up the middle. Safety came in to make a tackle. Corey lowered his head, hit the safety, and the safety fell backwards and was convulsing on the field. And I'll never forget this. I was watching this. You can find it on YouTube. And this safety started convulsing on the field. And Corey got up and turned around and saw him and just put his hands in his head and thought, oh, my God, what did I do to this kid?
Yeah.
And he did have a severe neck injury. He never played football again. But Corey kept.
And that was his first?
That was his first season at South Carolina, maybe the third game of his career.
Jeez.
Second game of his career. And Corey did keep in touch with this young man. Anything I can do. It was, and he had no ill towards Corey. They were just playing football.
It's a football play.
It was just hard to watch.
Yeah.
And this kid never played again. And they took him off on a stretcher in Williams-Brice that year in 2003. And Corey kept up with him and supported him and all types of stuff. And Corey ended up making a bad decision at South Carolina. He did something he shouldn't have done, got suspended by Steve Spurrier, came back, had a hell of a finish to his career, had some time with the NFL, and then since then has mentored young men in ways that you can never imagine.
Good for him.
He's a great human being.
That's a great story.
Who grew up in a place that you would never want to be ever in your life. And so I am fully behind Corey Boyd and very proud of him as a person. Yeah. So I wanted to make sure we mentioned that story. All right, a couple of things still to get to today. The Yankees will not play in the Field of Dreams game against the White Sox on August 13th. That's that field they're building, the Field of Dreams field. They're rebuilding it.
In Iowa, yeah.
In Iowa. The Cardinals will replace the New York Yankees. Half of the NFL's preseason has also been canceled. They'll play weeks 2 and 3. That's it, not 1 and 4.
They were already probably going to cut the 21 preseason anyway, so that's
no big deal.
But only by a game. This one's by 2.
Yeah. We already announced, they had already announced that the Canton game was postponed as well. All right, I'm going to be out here in this last segment. I actually have to run and take care of a family issue, but Scott Glaze will join Darren for the final segment. You'll enjoy this with Scott, as you always do, our golf segment, and the Rocket Mortgage is on the course in Detroit. But before we go, this video that Darren is going to post here in just a second was given to me this weekend. A young lady in my family plays travel basketball, and she was not at the tournament in which this happened, but this video that Darren is about to show you was just a young girl at a travel basketball tournament trying to inbound the basketball, and the lady who was face guarding her on the baseline didn't like it.
Not at all.
Took exception to it. So we're going to make this video public for the first time. Nobody's seen this. This is from my cousin Hadley, and check this out.
Oh, I mean, so if you're not watching, there's a girl in a black uniform. She throws it in, and a girl in a white uniform catches it. She's about a foot from her and pegs her
at the basketball.
It right around where if you're a guy you don't want to be pegged. That's where she got hit.
This is all part of our new segment that we need to do more of. What the hell just happened here? But this young lady, I think, is okay. She if you can see this, she makes the basket. The girl, I think it's towards the end of the game. They're trying to get the ball back in. It was a terrible inbounds pass, but it happens to hit this girl who just sank the layup, and then she just thumps her.
I guess we shouldn't be laughing, but I mean, we're watching this on a loop. And, yeah, that's what happened. She makes the layup. It's almost like the girl inbounding the ball. If you don't have anyone open, you try and spike it off the opposition so it bounces back out of bounds. That's almost like what it looked like.
Right.
And she caught it.
Yeah.
and was not happy.
And was promptly ejected from the basketball game.
Yes.
So, there you go.
And she knows how to throw. I mean, that is a well-schooled. I mean, she could be a quarterback with the type of wham.
Yeah. That was a yes. A what just happened here?
All right, I took it down. But if you want to see it, if you're listening in the podcast world or whatever, down the line and download this. What's today? July 2nd? Yeah, July 2nd. So about an hour and a half into the July 2nd show, you can watch that video.
Yeah.
I guess I could put it on Twitter, too. It wouldn't be hard.
Yeah. We'll post it.
Yeah, I'll put that up.
If you haven't seen, you spread the news. But that young lady, by the way, she's a big, tall girl, the girl that pegged the other one. Looks like a prospect. So hopefully college coaches ignore.
And the one she pegged is not a big, tall girl. Yeah.
At all. No. All right. It is 1:30 on this Thursday afternoon. Scott Glaze, he is up next with the golf club, at the Stono Ferry Golf Club out in Hollywood, beautiful Hollywood, South Carolina. He will break it down with Darren. I'm going to jet out of here for a family issue. I'll be back tomorrow, and everything's okay. But we're going to get out of here, and you'll take a look when you return at the Rocket Mortgage and talk a little bit more about the great world of golf, which a lot of you might be participating in this weekend on the 4th of July. So I'll be back tomorrow, and hope you all have a great day. Darren, appreciate you taking over the last segment here.
Happy to do it, man.
And
you take care of what you got to take care of.
You and Scott have fun.
We will.
We'll be right back.
Honey Baked Ham in Somerville and in Mount Pleasant is your home for catering and lunch. Honey Baked Somerville, owned by former Gamecock right-hander Mike Cisco, is just off the interstate, and they are ready to cater to your next business or family meal. Plus, drop in for an incredible sandwiches daily for lunch. The Mount Pleasant location is at the foot of the Ravenel Bridge and always ready to serve and cater to your next meals as well. Plus, delivery is available. Honeybake.com to find your menu today.
What's up, guys? It's JB. Obviously, things have been kind of crazy with the coronavirus taking over our lives. We're stuck inside with the family, finding ways to be creative and probably tapping the liquor cabinet a little bit. If you don't have Patrick Davis's Whiskey Jam in yours, put on your mask and gloves and head to Bottles or Burris liquor stores here in Charleston. The Blackberry is my personal favorite on the rocks, but the original Whiskey Jam is Patrick's. So either way, you're winning with Whiskey Jam. WhiskeyJam.com, PatrickDavis.com.
DB's Cheesesteaks, the tastiest, juiciest, and now award-winning cheesesteaks in the Low Country. DB's Cheesesteaks delivers, and not just in quality. Download DoorDash, Uber Eats, or your delivery app of choice and have it dropped off at your doorstep. Original chicken, buffalo chicken, even pizza cheesesteaks. Not to mention incredible cheeseburgers, massive hot dogs, and dynamite hoagies. It's all there for you and your family. DB's Cheesesteaks in West Ashley. DB'scheesesteaks.com.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
You don't think? You don't think? But I don't think you should be butting in when I'm talking to my team. You're my assistant, okay? You're supposed to back me up and go get me juice boxes when I tell you. Now go get me a juice box.
You know who you're talking to?
I'm talking to the juice box guy.
You're crazy!
Now, JB and Goldwater, live in the Low Country.
Welcome back to JB and Goldwater. Final segment here on this Thursday afternoon, July 2nd. As Jamie just told you, he had to skip out of here to take care of something with the family, and that's cool by us because that's what you're supposed to do. So me and Scott Glaze here, we're going to talk a little bit of golf. Of course, Scott, always brought to you by the good folks over at Stono Ferry, where Scott is the head golf pro and has new decorations up in his office if you're watching us. All right, Scott.
That's right. I got to take Yeah, I got to take a tip from those guys you see on ESPN and stuff. So I got to show a little of my fandom up here. I got my Caddyshack sign over what is it? My left shoulder. I got my OKC Thunder out there. So I got to show a little fandom.
I didn't know that you were an OKC guy. Number one, I didn't know.
Oh yeah.
I had no idea.
Big OKC guy. My sister went to school in Oklahoma City, and that was right when the team was moving from Seattle to OKC. And I was always a Jordan guy, but wasn't tied to the Bulls. So I said, all right, well, I'm going to adopt the Thunder. And that was a fun ride until KD, jumped ship. So we don't speak of his name.
Yeah. The hurt when your guy goes somewhere. It's like Bryce Harper going to the Phillies for me, I guess.
That's right. Yeah, there you go.
So the Rocket Mortgage is going on. That's out in Detroit right now. What jumps out to me is that Ricky Fowler posts a 5 under in the opening round. Lucas Glover is right there with him. But the field not as strong as it has been for what, the first 3 weeks back post pandemic. So what are you looking for out of this tournament?
Right, it's close to a B list field. I would say it's not fully B list because you do have some big names playing.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky is a big story this week. Ricky is a very big, he's highly marketable. We see him on TV a lot. See him in a lot of ads. One of the companies that is one of his big sponsors is Rocket Mortgage. So this is kind of his host week. So with that, that's interesting on the PGA Tour. There's a lot of responsibilities that normally come with that. If you're playing an event that's one of your big sponsors, there might be dinners to go to, different outings that you have to do, maybe some more commitments at the Pro-Am. Ricky won't have that this week because this is the COVID era of the PGA Tour. So that stuff isn't going on, so it won't be as much of a distraction. This is also, Ricky going into this week dropped to 31st in the official World Golf Rankings, which is the lowest he has been since 2014.
Whoa.
So Ricky's going to kind of, his game's just slowly, he just doesn't have any real big finishes, any wins. He did win in Phoenix last year, but since just really hasn't done anything. So I know he's looking to take advantage this week, try to climb those World Golf Rankings points, FedEx Cup points, obviously. Doc Redman, another big story this week. He's currently tied for first with Scott Stallings, 7 under, shooting 65 today. But he last year, 2019 in this tournament, he Monday qualified. And ended up finishing second. Now he got beat by 8 shots. It was an absolute sprint last year. Got beat by 8 shots, but finished second. And what that did was earn him enough FedEx Cup points to give him special temporary status on tour for the rest of the year. And then he was able to, in those starts that he was able to get on the PGA Tour the rest of the year, secure his tour card for 2020 without having to go to the Korn Ferry Tour or the Korn Ferry Finals. So this is a spot, clearly a golf course that he likes, a special place to him, considering that it kind of launched his PGA Tour career last year. And finally with him, there's a lot of local interest because he did play golf at Clemson. He's from the Chapel Hill area, but played at Clemson and won the U.S. Amateur in 2017 while still on that Clemson team. So he's going to be tough to beat this week because he's clearly got some good vibes around Detroit Golf Club.
Yeah, I'd say so. Talking with Scott Glaze, the head pro over at the Links at Stono Ferry. So last year it was Redmond who got that special temporary status or whatever the exact wording is. Last week it was Will Gordon. And Gordon now has the opportunity to do the same thing. So I think for the average golf fan, and even those like me who, I pay attention a lot. I enjoy the game. I play the game. I follow the tour. But understanding the balance between the Korn Ferry Tour, which used to be nationwide and Hooters and all that stuff, it's, the minor league circuit. But understanding the balance between that and getting your card and keeping your card is something a lot of people just don't understand. So Will Gordon has done what Redmond did last year, and now what will it take for Gordon to stay on the tour?
So basically you are able to play in 4 events per year by way of sponsors exemption. each week the tournament is able to give out sponsors exemptions, a certain handful of sponsors exemptions to players. For instance, Jonathan Byrd, another South Carolina connection there, he's on a sponsor exemption this week in the field up in Detroit. Will Gordon, I think last week was on his second sponsors exemption of the year. He's got full status on the Canadian Tour. He had Monday qualified in a couple events, done well. He at the tournament in Sea Island, he finished in the top 10, so that got him an exemption into the next week. So what this did for him is that it has given him enough FedEx Cup points to qualify for this special temporary card for the rest of the year. Now, in the rest of the year, if he's able to finish in the top 125 in terms of FedEx Cup points, then he will have his card for next year. In a typical year, I say that because due to COVID and everything, there is no relegation from the PGA Tour this year. So there's not going to be a Korn Ferry Tour Finals where someone who finished from 126 to 200 on the money list, they don't have to go then to the Korn Ferry Tour Finals to try and regain their card. So that's huge for Will Gordon to be able to lock that up. He's going to have at least at the very bare minimum that temporary card next year. But if he makes enough money, enough FedEx Cup points, then he'll have his card locked for 2021. In terms of the Korn Ferry Tour, that is basically the only way. That's the way that 95% of people make it to the PGA Tour. It is the AAA of golf. You have to finish in the top 25 on the Korn Ferry Tour money list for the entire season, and that will get you your PGA Tour card for the following year. If you're then 26 through 100, that takes you to the Korn Ferry Tour Finals, where you're then competing in a playoff style for your PGA Tour card. It used to be back in the old days that you could go to PGA Tour qualifying school, you could get hot over the course of a few weeks, and then boom, you're on the PGA Tour. It's not the case anymore. You have to go prove yourself for a season out on the Korn Ferry Tour. So the guys on the fringes of both, you'll see go up and back from each tour, the PGA and the Korn Ferry.
So is Q School a total thing of the past now?
No, so now Q School is for the Korn Ferry Tour. So if you go out, it's Korn Ferry Tour qualifying school. So if you make it through that, then you have status on the Korn Ferry Tour.
Okay, that to me seems like it makes a little bit more sense. What's the general feel for guys like you? I mean, you're trying to qualify for the PGA Championship that's coming to Kiowa in a year. So I would imagine you're in that boat. So is this a move that benefits guys like you?
Well, let's see. Back when I did mini tours, I was doing mini tours, I guess, about 6 or so years ago. Well, actually, from finishing school. Let's see. So early 2010s. And so I was right when they made that change to go from the PGA Tour Q School to make it Korn Ferry. At the time, it was Nationwide Tour Q School. At the time, I was frustrated by it because you couldn't have that instant make it to the PGA Tour. You have that holding period, it felt, on the Nationwide Tour. However, looking at it now that it's been established, I think it is really good because there's a lot. If you go from just playing at your local course and playing in money games and playing in some mini tour events, all of a sudden to the PGA Tour, that is a crazy change in your lifestyle and your day-to-day, week-to-week ritual. So does the guys that then kind of graduate from the tours, the Hooters Tour, the Tar Heel Tour, the Golden Bear Tour, whatever they are, once you graduate from those, the Ferry Tour, it allows you to learn that real tour life and how to manage your practicing, how to manage your tournament schedule, so on and so forth. And then you graduate to the PGA. It's good. It's making you a pro's pro, so and really making you earn it to make it to the tour. It's tough, though. I mean, it's so tough to make it. There's such a fine line. I played with so many guys out there, Wesley Bryan, Harold Varner, playing with them on mini tours in these little small towns in the southeast, and you kind of wonder, man, are you ever going to make it? How long do I do this? And those were two guys that hit it and got hot at the right time, and now they're playing with the big boys. So there is a very fine line of the talent on these lower tours and the PGA Tour. It's just all a matter of getting hot at the right time and hitting those high pressure shots.
Yeah. Scott Glaze with us, the head golf pro, the links at Stono Ferry. We started something last week that will continue now with viewing. Well, I guess we're not viewing, but discussing hole by hole over at the links, one of the finest courses that you can find down here in the Charleston area. So we are on hole number 2. So take us through in your best, I guess, Jim Nantz impersonation, hole 2 as we prepare to tee off.
Yeah, well, hello, friends.
Yeah, there you go. Good start.
To number 2. Welcome to number 2 at Stono Ferry. Last week I didn't have our hole names. We do have a specific hole name for each hole out here. Number 2 is named James Beamer, and it's named James Beamer from the original, founder of this piece of property, 1686. He was a ship carpenter from Barbados, and he found this piece of property and began to farm it way back when. And he actually disappeared at sea.
Oh, wow.
In 1687, and then his son continued to reside here. So James Beamer was the original founder, if you will, of Stono Ferry. So that's what number 2 is named. So number 1 started out par 4. To start, we go not so easy par 3, especially early in your round. I think it's tough to all of a sudden have a par 3 that can really demand a lot of your golf game. This goes totally counter to number 1. So, for instance, if you were into the wind on number 1, you're going to turn east there, and the wind could then be coming from your left to right. From the tips, it plays about 175 yards from our very forward tee, and we have 8 tees here at Stono Ferry once you have combos. So we have a tee box for every type of player. From the tips, about 175. From the very forward tee, it's 115. It's a kidney-shaped green around a single bunker there on the front left side. When the course was originally designed in 1989 by Ron Garl, there was a big, long bunker that stretched the entire length of the hole. In a redesign not too terribly long ago, we cut that out and made it a pond. So the water is in play if you don't hit a good shot, if you pull one over there to the left for the right-handed player. But we don't see a ton of balls rinsed there. Kidney-shaped green around that bunker. You have kind of false front over on the right side. So it's easy to hit a shot to a pin on that right side that maybe doesn't get up to pin high because of the slope there. And we can have a really difficult pin if it's back left or middle left, where then the water and the bunker guard that hole location. If you bail out and spray it over to the right, there's a low collection area over there, so you're going to have a tough up and down. So it is a tough, and then with the new housing community or housing development going in on our front 9 there, a few less trees than there used to be. So the ball is going to be exposed to more wind than you might remember if you haven't been out here in a while. And that can really kind of wreak havoc on your shot as it approaches the green. So you got to hit a good shot. Just put it in the middle of the green, take 2 putts, and walk away with a 3. And you're going to be very happy. I do not see a lot of birdies on number 2, even though it does happen. But if you're not careful, especially after a difficult first hole, you can then find some trouble on number 2, and then your round's off to a rough start. So when you come out, don't worry about the number of where the pin is. If it's front or back, just play right for the middle of the green, take 2 putts, and move on to number 3 tee that we'll talk about next week with your par.
I mean, if it's only that easy, just stand up there on the par 3 for 175 at the tips and say, I'm just going to play it to the middle. I'm not going to fire at that flag that is begging me to fire at that flag. That's just, golf takes so much willpower, man. It does
take a lot of willpower. When that pin's cut over there on the left, and it's just sitting around the edge of the trap and on the water, and you might have bogeyed the first hole or maybe even made double, and you think, oh man, I got to try to get something back here. Yeah, you fire away at that thing. That's what in golf we call those sucker pins.
Yeah.
Because only a sucker is gonna go after them. So that would be a sucker pin for sure.
Yeah, I would probably be a sucker. Without the trees, though, with the new housing development, if you miss it, are there more opportunities to play it back up to the green?
Yes, if you miss the green.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're where the trees were,
there are. It's now. I mean, if you hit it way offline, it's going to be out of bounds.
Right, someone's yard.
Whereas it used to be kind of on the back right part of that green, it was thick woods there, so not as much airflow coming through. So it is kind of cleared out a little bit. So if you have the big miss, you're gonna have an opportunity there to get up and down.
All right. What else is going on at Stono Ferry right now?
We're busy.
Good.
I tell you, golf in COVID times is very interesting, and we are open. We are being extremely careful and taking all the precautions necessary. Each week we take a new step to be safer and safer in these changing times. But we're busy. People are coming out and playing golf, and that's a great thing. It's been hot this week. I was out on the lesson tee yesterday and felt that heat. So make sure to stay hydrated when you come out. We do have water stations. But with it being a holiday weekend, we're already pretty booked up.
Good.
For the weekend. But so if there are still some tee times left for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, so you can always find those online at stoneandferrygolf.com. You can see our tee sheet and book there. If you are a local resident and you haven't played with us, or if you have not registered as a local resident in our Brigade Club, next time you come out, just make sure you have your driver's license on you, and we can verify that local residency. Then we can get you in our system as a local resident, and then you are able to create your unique online portal so that you can go in and you can see all your reservations. If you want to buy gift cards or if you have rain checks, all that good stuff, you can do that online. So if you don't already have access to that, next time you come out, just let us know. We'll help to set that up.
And I'd imagine with that also gives you the ability to keep your scores and get a handicap if you don't have one yet.
No, so handicap is that is a club membership benefit there. So if you do join, and we do have. I've gotten more calls in the last few months about inquiring about membership than I think I ever have. So the club is growing, it is thriving, and we have a full tournament schedule. We have a full event schedule. Knock on wood that we can have those later in the year. But we do offer a superior club membership experience with that country club feel without necessarily the country club price. So that is a benefit of that. But if you are a local resident and do not wish to join the club, the Brigade Club is free to join. And, you can keep track of all that stuff online that you do it at Stono Ferry. And then we'll run some specials every now and then exclusively for Brigade Club members.
Awesome. Well, Scott, we appreciate your time as always. Looking forward to next Thursday. We'll keep track of this Rocket Mortgage thing, see if old Ricky can pick up a win. Maybe.
I think this might be DeChambeau's week. I'm going to say this is DeChambeau's week. I was thinking about it earlier. We need to have a good nickname for DeChambeau. So
I saw
together on that.
We can. So I saw this hashtag. It was probably the first tournament back because that's when everyone was noticing that this guy is not the way he used to be. And I saw the hashtag of DeChambeauflex. I liked that one. That's a strong one.
I like that.
Yeah.
DeChambeauflex. See, that's kind of long though. Like, if I'm texting out his name, I'll just put BDC just because it's such a long, weird name to text. But I do like DeChambeauflex.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. I think this is his week. He's played the best in terms of two par since golf came back, and I think his distance is really going to help him this week. And we saw last year 25 under, won here last year, so it's going to be another sprint like it has been the last couple of weeks where you got to make a lot of birdies. So I would expect to see it around 20 under again. So if you like birdies, if you like to live under par, like the PGA Tour slogan says, then it's going to be a good week.
I mean, we all like to live under par, don't we?
Yeah, that's true. I guess it wouldn't. Yeah, the USGA doesn't. They like it to be right at par.
Yeah, there you go. Have you ever seen? And then I'll let you go. DeChambeau, if you're not aware of this, not you, Scott, but anybody listening, all of his clubs are the exact same length.
Yes.
Have you seen that anywhere else? Do you know of anyone else who does that?
No, and that's a great point. And that has gone totally off the narrative with his new physique. No, when he was an amateur, I remember reading about it and thought it was just so interesting, and it's with his physics background as to why he does it, and kind of how he learned to swing the club. And for a while there, they were offering Cobra, his club company, was offering same length clubs through the bag. I have not seen anyone else do it. And I mean, hey, to each their own. If that's how he learned how to play golf, then good for him. That's not what I would recommend.
Yeah.
But it's certainly strange. I couldn't imagine having a sand wedge that was the same length as my 5-iron.
No.
Hey, it's working.
Exactly. I mean, look, golf's hard enough as it is. Figure out something that works and go with it.
Right, that's true. It is a tough game.
All right, man. I'll finally let you go here. Good luck to your Thunder now that you've got that banner hanging for us.
Hey, thanks. That's right. We're starting up soon, and watch out for the Thunder. They're gonna they might make a little noise in these abbreviated playoffs. New look Thunder this year.
All right, man. We'll catch up with you next Thursday. Have a good 4th weekend.
All right.
Scott Glaze of the Lynx at Stono Ferry there, taking us through hole number 2, and then also more about Stono Ferry. DeChambeau is his pick to win at the Rocket Mortgage. Let's see if we can get you an update right now. No, I'm not going to be able to pull an update up right now because I don't have a whole lot of time left for the rest of the show. And what we do need to do is get you to the National Day. And for this National Days list today, there is every possibility that I am going to sound like a fool, which happens. Which totally happens sometimes. Today is National Anisette Day. Anisette. National Anisette Day. Anisette is Anisette. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that right. Anisette. So it is a liquor derived from aniseed. So that's what we're celebrating on National Aniseed Day. The herb gives anisette its licorice or fennel flavor. And so that's what we're celebrating. We're celebrating a drink that I have never heard of and am probably not pronouncing correctly in the first place. So I guess fine. That's what we're celebrating today. Tomorrow, we'll leave this up for Jamie for tomorrow. It'll be fun. We've got a couple of interesting ones, and then obviously we get to July 4th, which is coming up this weekend. Hope everyone has a nice, safe, and happy and healthy July 4th, first and foremost. Thanks for being with us today on the JB and Goldwater Show. If you missed any of the program, you can obviously go back and find it video-wise, audio-wise. The podcast is available everywhere podcasts are available. The video links will be live to go back and watch a replay on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter shortly after all of this is said and done. Tomorrow we have Rafael Esparza coming up at 12:30. That is our Vegas Insider. Not sure what else we have tomorrow other than we are planning to do the SEC East over-under. So we'll get a little conversation on South Carolina. Josh Kendall from The Athletic has an article out today. May have published yesterday. I saw it today. Of the 10 most important players for the Gamecocks this year. So we'll get into that as we talk about the SEC East. And who knows what else is coming on a July 3rd edition of a July 4th weekend of the JB and Goldwater Show. So that'll be coming up tomorrow right here from noon to 2 as it is every single weekday. We appreciate all the support so far. If you like the show, share the show. We certainly appreciate that. Rate the show. Give us 5 stars. Like it, whatever you got to do. Tell your friends. And keep this growth going. As Jamie said yesterday, we still have room on this bandwagon. And fortunately for us, the bandwagon's filling up. But we're not going to let it fill up. We're just going to buy a bigger boat and let that bandwagon keep on growing. So if you're on it, thanks. If you're not or your friends aren't, get them on it. JB and Goldwater Show. Our thanks to JB and to Scott Glaze for joining us today as well. We will talk to you tomorrow on the JB and Goldwater Show.